we got an advocate is in the house. She don't want to be called a politician.
No,
she's
I don't
an
blame
advocate,
her.
and she's a real advocate in the community. Our girl, the one and only, Cynthia
Cynthia
Harris. What's up, Cynthia?
Hey.
Last time I seen you, girl, you said, I am going to bed. When I get through with this, she had a beautiful grandbabies out there with her, and she teaching them boys how to work in the community.
Yes.
And that's an awesome thing. And they're willing to work, too.
And they're not shy.
Oh, no.
At all. Like, they even grabbed the microphone from Cynthia when we were trying to interview her.
And the tall one, he told me how to barbecue. He said, this is the way he do it.
He's going to be something. He's going to be like an advocate like Cynthia because he's bold. He approaches. He's not afraid.
He ain't scared at all. He said, hold on, man. I know him to do mine like this. I said, well, man, I fed 600 people. He said, don't matter. This is the way I do mine. So what's up, Cynthia? How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Well, you was back to back with your events. You had right before Thanksgiving. You did event. We did an event where you fed the community hot meals, and then we turned right back around and did Thanksgiving. So, tell us what's your motivation, and inspiration on doing those type of things in the community.
Well, basically for Thanksgiving, like I was saying before, Salvation Army does theirs on Thanksgiving Day. The coalition usually has a meal on that Wednesday, and I do mine either that Monday or Tuesday before Thanksgiving. That gives everyone an opportunity to have at least 3 hot meals during Thanksgiving week.
Right.
Because so often we have so many turkey giveaways in the community, but when you're homeless, where you going to cook it?
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
So
They're going to wind up selling it.
Well, that too. We unfortunately we do that in the community too, but at least you know where your meal is going, and people are very appreciative of that.
Yes, indeed. And then you had a great turnout too. Mimi, you was out the second one. You know when we was there. I mean, you went out there and you interviewed, and the guy, Mr. Clean.
Mr.
Yes.
Oh man, isn't he the cleanest dude?
So
in
he's one of
Orlando?
he's an educator. And the way that he presents himself with the suits is something like that should be like behind the scenes cut to show him exactly like what he does, how he gets into classrooms, and how he just people just gravitate to him. And for him to reach young people, telling them how to dress, how to approach, because it's true. Like I've learned in corporate, it's how you dress that will bring the attention to people.
Right.
So I've learned that being independent. Where do I go? How do I dress accordingly? It's so real, like guys. And
right.
So he dresses in this blue, like bright blue suit, head to toe, shoes that's like shining.
Socks. I mean,
I've never seen anything like it. And I'm like, we have to do behind the scenes interview with him, Cynthia. And I need you to be there because this is a very impressive educator.
And he's like this every day.
Every day.
Yeah, this is like every day.
He doesn't wear regular clothes. That is him every day.
Every day.
We
He'll
posted
cut the grass
this, guys.
in his suit.
Do it.
Yes.
If you guys want to see him, go to Peace on the Streets Radio, Instagram, and Facebook page. You will see the educator that we're talking about. What is his name and what does he do exactly?
His name is Mr. Chandler, and he is the parent liaison for Eccleston Elementary.
Elementary?
Yeah,
Yes!
that's why I seen him, man. Because he worked right around the corner from where my guys I would pick up, and I would see him. I said, man, he's sharp.
He's sharp.
Every day.
Teacher, you know.
I mean, he even beats half of these priests and pastors and deacons. Like, he blows them out the water
man,
how he dresses.
He's clean. He's clean.
It has to be a clip on him. And if no one's going to do it, I'll do it.
Yeah, we'd love to do
that
it.
behind-the-scenes clip of how he talks and teaches and dresses, it's just impressive.
So, Cynthia, what do you have going on? Anything for Christmas?
Well, I'm going to take a break, a slight break.
Okay.
I do Toys for Tots, so that's my next thing. So I do Toys for Tots in the community, so I'll be probably taking some applications soon for people who are in need of toys that have not did the Toys for Tot application process directly through them.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of light for me because usually I do breakfast on Christmas Day.
Okay.
But this year I'm not doing it.
No, that's right. Because you've been busy this year.
Yeah.
And I have someone that said that there, Rochelle Smith, she said she's going to donate, I think, starting with like 30 gifts.
Okay.
She's going to do baskets. She's going to make up some baskets.
I know that.
And she's going to pass it on. The Peace on the Streets is a part of that, too.
We have to be because, seeing what Cynthia done and seeing the line of people, it broke my heart. I didn't think that it was that deep still with a community from all ages.
Right.
From 60 plus to like teenagers that were standing online getting food. I just, like, what can we do? It's just, it's going to make me cry.
Yeah.
Because just, you could tell that, you know, the way they dress and like they're hanging in there.
Right.
And like, how is that still going on right now? And why to our youth, you know?
It's getting worse because remember now we had a pandemic and people are still trying to recover. And unfortunately, people are still losing their homes through evictions, foreclosures. A lot of people their rent has gone up, their car insurance has gone up, their house insurance has gone up. So until we get a grip on the greediness, we're going to continue to have this problem in our community.
Right. And that's coming from up top, the greediness.
Yes.
What can we do to cap this thing off? Because like now rent, man, it's unbelievable. I think my son, he's paying like $1,200. He only got a big room.
Well, that was in the voting that we just voted for, right? Am I right about trying to cap rent, or that's what they're trying to add on the ballot?
They took it off the ballot. So
Did they?
So even though it was on the ballot, there are appeals because there's a lawsuit right now to put in effect the rent cap. So what happened was you have a group of realtors and apartment managers. They filed a lawsuit against the county to have the rent stabilization amendment null and void. So even though you voted on it because it was on the ballot, it's not effective.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Why did they even put it on the ballot in the first place? Are they messing with us? It's like a joke?
Things are put on the ballot, but then people can sue to have it removed.
They should be able to. There's some sort of statute of limitations. They should have done that before it got on the ballot. How are they allowing that?
They were fighting. So
it's too late. It's done. If they were trying to fight it in the ballot, it's already on the ballot. It's done.
No, it doesn't work
no,
that way.
politics
it should work that way.
But it's totally different.
It should. How are you allowed to vote for something that's not really there? That makes no sense.
So what you could do as a concerned citizen, you can fight to have it
put back. And that's what we have to do. We have to fight to put it back on the ballot.
Put your resources together. We put our resources into frivolous things like shoes and cars and clothing and things like that. But the things that matter most to you, we wait for somebody else to do it for you.
Right.
I don't think that we know that we have the power to do so.
Well, you do have the power. You hire and fire with your vote. So you have to understand your power. Your power is there. You can't just rely on somebody to make a decision for you. You got to make those people that you select to represent you properly
accountable.
Yep, hold them accountable. I mean, we should be calling our state representatives. I mean,
Absolutely.
Our city representative that's representing us. Those are the people that we should be on butt saying, hold on, how did this happen? I mean, you know what I'm saying? How did y'all let it get taken off the ballot? So if we put pressure on them, but what we do, we don't know. We won't do it.
I think it's we don't know who to go to. Like right now, I don't know who to go to about that. I would go straight to them, put them on air and say, well, why'd you take it off the ballot?
Well, if people mumble, grumble, and complain amongst themselves. So you have city council meeting, county commission meetings, and a lot of people don't know even your transportation have commissions. So you have Metro Plan, you have Links who have their own commission, you have GOA at the airport, they have meetings. Expressway Authority, they have meetings. OUC have commission meetings. You have to start getting to those meetings and making sure that your voice is heard, because these meetings are going on behind closed doors, but
yes,
you have an opportunity to be there and put it on record that, hey, I don't like this. My utility bill is going up. My rent is going up, and I want this implemented as a amendment or a law. You have your state, house, and Senate. They are the ones that affect change that trickle down to the local level. So if you want funding for your community, you got to hold these people that you have in office accountable, that when they go to Tallahassee, session is coming up. You have an opportunity to go when they have lobby days. Go and meet with these legislators that are going to make decisions that affect your life every day.
So that's what lobby day means?
Yeah.
Meeting these officials. We don't know these things.
We die from lack of
We've
knowledge.
heard of it, but we don't understand what it consists of. Let me say there's a new bill that passed, may I say. Because It's passed through the Senate, and it's a bill that allows polygamy in New York State.
Really?
Now, we know we got that in Utah, right?
Okay, yes.
With men allowing to marry more than one woman.
Right.
This is polygamy with men allowing to marry more than one man. So you got 3
I heard
men
about
now
that.
marrying.
And then they're adopting.
I mean, we're not speaking about that right now. Let's one step at a time. So that,
Well, that's what's coming.
yeah, but, yes, but polygamy. So is marriage not marriage anymore?
No.
But then
Things has changed.
So that passed, guys. There's a bill that right now has passed in the state of New York that polygamy is acceptable. I don't know within the women, but as the man right
can
now,
have many men as he
you
wants.
can marry more than one man.
We got to get a song.
I'm about to turn principal right now.
Jesus Christ.
So there's this article that says Florida's child welfare system is found to be complicit in sex trafficking. This is nothing new.
So in a welfare system, there's sex trafficking going on in a welfare system like DCF.
Correct.
Really?
So
Explain.
in the foster care system, when you have young teens, young preteens, young adults that are on the verge of being aged out or they are not considered adoptable.
What age is that? 13? 16?
11? 10 to 11?
You gotta be kidding me.
All the way down to 9 years old.
gotta be kidding me.
No
Those are
one wants a
babies
9-year-old.
themselves.
They don't want 9-year-olds.
want babies.
They want babies.
So when a child is considered a ward of the state in the care, custody, or control of the Department of Children and Families, they may go to a foster home, and they already feel like, hey, I have no one to turn to because I've been in an abusive situation with my family, and then I meet this pimp who says, hey, I can treat you better than you were treated in foster care home, because a lot of foster care homes are not that suitable, and you've heard the horror stories.
I know what they go through.
And so what happens is they take these children and they groom them and they send them out of state. So here in Florida, they may send them to Philadelphia, New York. Well, I have no resources. I have no one to talk to. I don't feel like I talk to anyone because I've been in this situation where I've been removed from the only place I've known into a strange place, and now somebody has taken me into a strange land, and so I can't call someone to say, hey, come help me, rescue me. So these kids end up on the streets.
You know that you said that? There's a young lady in Pine Hills, Florida, that got murdered maybe a month ago.
Yes.
16-year-old. In the DCF system, like you said, ran away from the system.
Correct.
And was in the streets running away from the system.
Right.
Sex traffickers got a hand of her, like she said, and took her as a sex trafficking child.
Right.
Well, they murdered her. They shot her in the head and left in the streets where they found out she was in the sex trafficking. This is right here in Pine
Yeah,
Hills.
you'd
We
be
are
surprised.
number
Right here.
one. Florida's number one.
Florida is
Are
number
we?
one in the United States for sex
Orange
trafficking.
County is number 3.
Come
on.
Wow.
Edgewater High School is a prime location that they have trafficked a lot of young children, not just women, but young men as well are being trafficked.
From high school?
From
From
high
high
school.
school.
So with some of what they do is
It makes me want to fight.
they'll say, well, hey, you see some of these kids in the parking lot trying to sell candy bars or magazines and things like that. They start them out like that. And then they'll say, okay, well, you're going in this little area, so they let you get in this area, you sell to your heart's content, and they may give you a couple of dollars, maybe a pair of sneakers or whatever, something that you're not used to. And then they turn around. They've lured you in, kind of like the drug dealer that lures you in when they give you a hit of dope,
Right.
and then you get attached to it, and then the next thing you know, oh, well, we're going to travel out of Orange County. We're going to take you over here to this
Would you like to
area.
see California?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so the next thing you know, you're gone.
I get how sweet that sounds.
Yeah.
I hope the adults right now are listening and children. I hope teenagers are watching right now because I want them to understand this is going on right here in Orlando.
very
Yeah.
real.
And we're number one in the United States, Florida, period. I
Right.
heard it was Miami, and it's just moved on up, to
Well,
us.
Orange County is
Number
third.
3.
Third.
Who's number one? Curious.
South Florida
That's
is
exactly.
Yeah.
So when you have young kids that are coming from other states, they're coming with the going to see Disney.
Yeah, Florida.
And
it's beautiful. I can't wait.
And so when you have big events like the Super Bowl, they're trafficking our kids right here on I-Drive in these hotels, and they're tourists. Who's going to know the difference between a person with their family and a person who's being trafficked?
Right. It's sad.
I say don't be afraid to ask questions. I saw a little boy walking down the street yesterday. He looked like he was 12. And I turned around, I'm like, how old are you? I know you can't really talk to kids. I mean, you shouldn't, I guess. But he's like 12. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be at school? And he just kept walking. And so, like, I would call it out.
Some people have bad parents.
Yeah. That's the problem. Now we're under the premises that you just can't talk to kids anymore.
Yeah, that's what they make you scared of, though.
But the thing of it is, I'm old school. So even in my neighborhood, I tell them, look, why you here this late at night? Go home.
Right.
And that's why I feel like I know that they kind of make us scared too, but I know in my heart's I asked him. Yeah. And so I will. I'll be that advocate. I'll ask him straight up.
We have to get out of that mindset of being afraid to say things. And it goes back to politics, We're afraid to talk about the things that matter most to us. We talk about them in conversations like this, but then the people we need to be making that change to, we're not pleading to those people. We're not saying, hey, we don't want this in our community.
I see that.
Or we need these things in our community. We got to start going to meetings. They systemically make sure that these meetings are set during times that you're working so that you don't attend. But there are people who have opportunities and availability. They have no excuse. They should be at these meetings. And if you can't be at the meetings, they offer Zoom now, so you can look at the meetings live. You can also put in your comments online in advance. So
interesting.
So when there are meetings, for instance, say if there was a meeting tomorrow, you can submit your comments in advance, and they have to put them on record.
Nice.
I didn't know that existed.
Oh, wow. A lot of us probably didn't know that.
That's great.
And so with technology in the world now, you have an opportunity to let your voice be heard.
Gotcha.
In more ways than one. You hear all the time, write your politician, call your politician on the phone.
Yes.
Why aren't you?
Yes,
Gotcha.
Let me. How does the bill pass in the Senate? Let me ask you this: is it the people that vote? Because this bill passed again. I'm going to say it again on air. That this new bill that passed, that just passed, same-sex marriage bill passes in the Senate. It's polygamy. You're allowed to marry more than one person. So this just happened in New York City. How is this possible? How did this happen? Who votes for this? And
how representatives?
Yeah.
So here in Florida, we'll use it on the state level. You have your Senate and you have your House. Well, you have representatives that you vote for to represent you. They are one voice in the state of Florida.
Okay.
You got 67 counties in Florida. That means you got members that are in the Senate that represents all of these 67 counties.
Got it. So who we vote for the Senate seat represents us.
Right. And so that one voice, multiply it by everybody else to get the majority, and it passes.
Wow.
This must have happened under our nose, because I never heard of this as an option.
Well, we have a lot of distraction that goes on.
Absolutely.
A lot of times they'll have something distracting, and we'll be focused on the distraction, and right then they're doing new bills behind our backs.
Well, a great example is, abortion was a big topic. Well, meantime, while you're focusing on protesting about your body, your choice, they're passing things right up under your nose because you're focused on abortion. And in the meantime, your house insurance went up.
Right.
Your car insurance went up.
Yeah.
Your rent went up. Your food costs went up.
And that's what they're more concerned about right there. They really ain't too concerned about the abortion part.
That's how they throw it in on you.
And they throw that in, and everybody's focused on that. And then, because if we would have known that to be focused on the rent is going up and all of this kind of stuff, we'd have been focused on that. So they throw distraction.
Yeah, because if you say anything in regards to same sex or anything in that nature, there's an uproar. Period. Straight up.
Right.
That's why it gets thrown in during the middle of the sessions. There's another thing for notaries in this state. or maybe it's in the whole United States, because this bill passed, a notary has to marry polygamists.
Really?
If they don't marry them, whether a church or a priest, a notary, because they're notaries, priests usually, pastors and priests, if they deny them, they could lose their license and they could get sued, the church and the people.
What?
They just threatened me on that because I'm a notary.
And so am I.
And I said, well, I'm an officiate, and I'm an independent officiate, so I'm allowed to pick and choose who I want to allow to sign or not. We have the right to pick and choose. We have the right to deny.
But you also have to remember the case of the gay couple who wanted the cake from the bakery, and they sued the baker because he refused to serve them. And won.
Did he work for a company, though, like
No,
corporate?
he owned his own bakery.
He owned it.
How can you sue someone that owns their own stuff and they can choose what they want to? They have the right to. They own it. And they own it because they have the freedom to do what they want.
Is it in the laws?
Well, I don't know how they're threatening notaries. I'm going to check this out, because if they're threatening me on that, I'll quit my license. I'm out. Because you can't control me.
Well, is it a law?
In New York, it is that we can get sued.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie. I've denied twice, not in regards to the same sex, but I've denied twice of because I felt something funny about it.
Okay.
That's my right. I'll lose my license if I was correct and there was something wrong with it. I feel the same way. If I don't feel it's right, if I feel like there's something wrong, I'm not gonna marry people.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what, like, how can you tell me?
Uh-huh.
If I have the license and I'm independent, that's why I'm not working for corporate owner.
And then how about if it's against your constitution or what you believe in? Does it matter?
You don't have rights anymore, Prince.
Well, and that's the thing. We're losing our ability to have a voice. And we're allowing our ability to not have a voice because we are having this conversation here, but we're not speaking beyond these rooms.
As far as it goes.
But why do you think that is?
Well, because we've been relying on people to make decisions for us instead of have free will thinking.
No, it goes deeper than that, though. Because with all these new ludicrous laws that make no sense nowadays on the bill, they get taken off. People, yeah, you protest about it, but you're not going to actually speak up about it. The time you spend protesting, you can be actually talking to people about it.
Good job.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what I said earlier. If you're just only having this conversation in the room and you're not talking to the people that are making those decisions, because you got to remember now, if they're doing something that's against your principles and values, you have the power to hire and fire. You are in charge. You are the CEO. This is the only business that you are in that you have the power to fight.
Yeah. So Cynthia, please give us your information, how to find your work, how to assist you. We want to assist you. How can we help you?
And there's toys. And the toys for tots. So what you got going on?
So right now I'm trying to get it all together because, like I said, we just got through with the holidays.
Yes.
Right.
So
Thank
now
you.
I'm putting everything together. So 407-308-2975 if you want to reach out. I'm on Facebook. You can reach out that way. Just hit me a message. I'll probably see that a little bit more than I would on Instagram or Twitter because I don't really use it. I need these ladies right here to kind of...
And that's what we're going to do. We're going to give out 30 baskets with Rochelle and Peace on the Streets. It's going to be care baskets.
And I could bring in, you know what? Let's collaborate because I could bring in No Fault, the 1-800 No Faults group that I assist with accidents. And I know that I could represent and bring them in as well. So
because what happened with us, we don't have 501c. What is that?
501c3.
Yeah, we don't have all that organization. You already have all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? You already have a foundation. So what we do, we just partner with someone.
We collaborate with trusting foundations.
With people that are doing great things in the community that we see. Because I have a lot of people that want me to partner with them. They want me to get on their board direct. You'd be surprised. Wow. And I said no to a lot of people. But with Cynthia Harris, I'm all in because I know what she does. Because not only when she feeds the homeless.
Yes.
She goes to those places and get the food. And she was doing this when she was campaigning.
Wow.
On her campaign day that she should be out there knocking on doors, reaching the people. And she goes out there for real, goes and knock on doors. And when she was out there, I talked to her. She said, I'm at the food banks getting food to give out to the homeless and to the elderly. and it was in the midst of her a campaign, and everybody know that's tough to do.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, I take my hat off to you, girl, and we with you. Peace
And
on the
she's
street
consistent.
with you 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Girl.
was like,
Thank you.
it's
Yes.
mind blowing, but it doesn't feel good. Doesn't it feed your soul?
All the time.
I know it. That's amazing. We need people like her because we need to stick together and help each other. So give out your number again, Cynthia, because I want people, listen, donate, talk to her, text her. Don't be afraid. She will talk to you.
Give her the number and do it slow. Nice and slow.
Okay, 407-308-2975.
Awesome, you guys. You got the number. Reach out. And then you remember I met a guy. I told her about it. The guy from the nursery. He said, hey, yeah, I'm with her 100%.
Wow.
And whatever she got going on. So I've been, connecting with her with people that's willing to help. And that's what we need, someone that's giving back in the community.
Right.
A lot of politicians here, they'll show up on the day of.
Right.
How that works, Cynthia? Where they'll show up and kiss the babies. They ain't even a part of nothing. They just come to the darn event.
just show up.
They'll
and
slap
ki-
their faces
and
on a flyer and pretend like that's their work.
And it's not even that
And take
work.
pictures there as well.
Yeah. And they're there 5 minutes. I'll see y'all later.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
And we literally seen things like that.
Well, normally, not only do I do Toys for Tots, I have a school that I adopt, Carver Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
And normally I'll do backpacks for them because this time of year, people do backpacks for back to school in August, but by this time of year, they have no backpacks. They're already torn up.
Yeah.
They have no
So
school
real.
supplies.
Yes.
Gotcha.
If you want to donate backpacks, I usually do it in December and send them home for the Christmas break, but didn't have time to fill that in. So January, if you want to donate backpacks for the kids
Yes.
in middle school, because I call the middle school kids the Neverland kids because they slip through the cracks. Those are the kids that have to be at school between 9 and 9:30 when parents have to be at work at 8 o'clock and you got to rely on them. And little Timmy is robbing Miss Smith's house before he goes to school. So, we always want to mentor kids and tutor kids when they're in grade school, and then when they get to middle school, we forget about them, and then when they get to high school, we want to save their lives and say, hey, you could go to college, but all this stuff in between, you have allowed them to get in trouble and have idle time.
Right.
You got to be consistent.
So let's get to the person on, and then we get on in, right? Okay. Mrs. Angela, how you doing?
Oh, my God. Well, Prince, I hope you're going to sit down on this one.
Oh, boy. I'm always sitting down.
And Miss Angela, guys, is the CEO of Miss International World and Miss Latina International.
Yes, she is. Welcome to the stage.
Woo!
Now, thank you. Okay. I got a lot of updates tonight, but I'm going to start with this one first. Okay. I know the editor of Platform Magazine very well, and as I said last week, we are all coming out. This is part of our post-press. We're all coming out on the cover, and there's going to be inside stories, on everybody with the awards and everything.
Wow.
But, last night we did Christmas on Los Olas, and I've been doing that event for, years. And we work with Zola Keller, and Zola Keller's got the most amazing gowns. I mean, you see these pictures on Instagram and on my Facebook page. It's like, whoa, okay? So, a lot of people were viewing this today. So now I get a message from the editor. She says, look, Angela, being that you guys are gracing the cover, now she's in Virginia and Washington, D.C. area, and she's always in the White House, okay, because she's a biochemist.
Wow.
Yeah. And she said, I want you and the girls, she said, in June, to come to Washington. We're going to do a New York fashion show. And she said, one of them going to be in the White House. I said, that's it. Air Force One's got to be there.
Wow. When you make it there, you make it anywhere. That's
I said, so Prince has got to come to this one.
Prince.
I will be there. The White House?
What? They take a D.C. period. Have you ever been to D.C.?
No, I have not.
Me neither. I lived in New York my whole entire life.
Okay. I haven't been.
Yeah, and then you can wear your tuxedo and really announce
Get that three-piece tuxedo.
Yes.
That's big time. Congratulations.
Yes, it is. Wow.
She's a biologist in the White House. It's a woman. This is insane. I told you this organization is run by severely dedicated, dominant women.
Right.
It's insane.
Wow.
And here's the thing. We could get Lamont to join us because Lamont lives in Virginia.
Oh, wow. Come on.
Wow.
Who knew? I thought he was in California. Interesting. He's doing big things out there.
Yes, he is.
No, yeah, Lamont, he's a big thing. And, I tell you, sometimes you never know who's watching you. We've discussed that. You never know when you go somewhere who's watching you and what you're doing. And then all of a sudden, you step out and it's like, people want you here and people want you there. So that's kind of the success story for the week.
Yes, indeed.
That's
Great
a big
job,
deal.
Miss
Congratulations.
Angela.
It's an honor.
Yes, it is.
I mean, you're surrounded by greatness.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then tomorrow night, we will be with Channel 25 in my area. We're going to be going to the Sandy tree lighting, the Christmas tree lighting. And what's interesting about this is a Christmas tree that was built out of sand. And it towers way over the beach. What? And they actually put lights on this thing.
That's insane.
Really?
So it's a sandcastle? A sand tree?
They actually put lights on this. So it's unbelievable. People say, how could a tree made out of sand, and it doesn't melt. That's the funniest thing.
What?
Okay. It doesn't melt. Whatever they pack this tree with, it's there all year. It's there until after New Year's, until they take it down.
Wow.
Let's get up for Florida with the sand trees. Come on, Florida.
I'm telling you.
Wow. Never heard anything like it. I'd love to see the pictures. Can't wait.
Yeah. So it's it's unbelievable. The first year I heard that, I said, wait a minute. We get rain. I mean, we don't get snow here, but if we get rain, this thing has got
rain every day.
This thing doesn't melt. I don't know what they do, and it's built out of actual sand. They actually go to the beach and get all the sand and build this tree.
I can't wait to see it. Insane.
Yeah, I will have pictures with it. Yeah, and
yes.
In fact, if you look it up, Sandy Tree in West Palm Beach, you'll see it.
Woo-hoo.
Nice.
This thing is, and it's tall. I mean, it's way up there.
Uh-huh.
And when I first heard about it, I said, this thing has got to melt. And no, it doesn't until they actually knock it down right after New Year's.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
And it's called Sandy Trees. Sandi. Sandy Trees.
Right. Sandy
That's their 11th birthday, by the way.
Is it?
It's a big deal. This
Nice.
looks like a legit tree.
Wow.
Insane. You guys gotta look this up. I'll be in Florida.
Yeah, and now next week, of course, we have the Global Trade Chamber, the 100 Successful Women in Business Christmas party. But next Friday night, now, Mimi, you might remember, Prince, you might remember her too. We have the Grand Marshal party with the Winterfest, because the Winterfest Boat Parade is next weekend. And they've got quite a few celebrities coming in. They've got Joey Fatone, who was in our Greek wedding.
Come on, Joey. It's sick in the building.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's going to be there. But the Grand Marshal, and she goes back to the 80s, Taylor Dane.
Whoa. That's historical. Another one.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Taylor Dane is going to be the Grand
Marshal.
So we've got the girls going there next Friday night. And, you never know with that event who's going to walk in, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, a couple of years ago, we had Nick Cannon was the Grand Marshal.
Wow.
Really? Nice.
Yeah. Now, Nick Cannon's crazy. Okay? Yeah. He's definitely crazy.
I mean, after 11 kids, I understand, Miss Angela. I'm
I'm
just
telling you.
saying.
11 kids have anybody.
And all
crazy.
different baby mamas, most of them. Yes.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
a high bill.
Yeah.
Because when we did that event with him, I had the girls standing to the side, and he saw the girls, and he went crazy.
Oh, yeah.
There
Miss
you
Angela, we
go
need any more
again.
babies.
Keep him away from the
Hey,
ladies.
keep them, please, dude.
Have him over there about security.
Yeah. He brought them up on stage, and it wasn't time yet, but he brought them up. Oh, he was funny. And it's funny because you never know what celebrities are going to walk in there. They hear, oh, Nick Cannon's going to be there tonight. Well, if there's other celebrities in the area. In fact, last year, they had Mario Lopez, and I turn around, and I hear one of my girls talking, and who walks in? Trevor Noah.
Oh, I love Trevor Noah.
What?
Oh, he gets in. He had an amazing interview with Will Smith, by the way. If you guys
Did he?
haven't checked that out, you must. Because Will gets into a point where I had tears in my eyes and
Okay.
almost cried.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's a really great
About to
conversation.
slap.
Yeah, goes in.
Next Friday night, our very own Stephen Harvey will be performing there.
Nice.
Insane, Steven!
Nice.
He made it!
Congratulations.
Yeah. So he always performs for Winterfest. So that's going to be Celebrity Night Plus.
Wow. And Stephen Alvey is a violinist that performed at our competition in the Bahamas.
Okay.
A young man. And
Wasn't he here?
Yeah, it's going to
Not live.
Now,
Okay.
Mimi, this is something you might want to be interested in. You know, of course, March is Women's Month, National Women's Month, okay? Now, the Chamber is going to be doing, on March the 2nd, we will be in Miami, okay? And we're going to be doing what's called the Rockstar Roadshow Expo and Conference. It's going to be the biggest women business expo and conference, okay? And it is to celebrate International Women's Month for 100 successful women in business. Yeah. So I'm going to send you the information on that. And I believe we're supposed to do Orlando, but we've got quite a lineup next year. We've got Miami, Philadelphia, Chicago, the Philippines, San Francisco, Texas, India, Las Vegas, and Puerto Rico.
Nice.
the building!
Through the 22nd.
Got it.
Sweet.
And 100 Successful Women in Business is one of the books I was published in this year for 100 Most Successful Women in Business.
Sweet.
And I was honored about 2 years ago. So this is insane. This is a huge organization. And to collaborate,
Yes.
it's a big deal. There's going to be big time people around there
Yes, it is.
that make things happen.
It is. It's going to be absolutely great. And
Great place to network.
because we might June or July do something in Miami Beach. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
So they're calling it this year the Rockstar Roadshow of 2023, and it's produced by the Global Trade Chamber, but it's really 100% women in business.
Got it.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
Global Trade Center
So,
is the one partnered with
Yeah,
them.
we will definitely be there March the 2nd. Okay. I believe. Let me see. It's probably at the Hilton Hotel.
Okay.
But I will actually get the exact location. But we did it in Miami last year and it was pretty good. I don't see Orlando on this roster, but I know I had seen it, so I'll definitely follow up with that.
Yes, please
Okay.
do. Please, guys, don't forget about Orlando.
Yes.
Sometimes we get overlooked.
I'm telling you. Yes, so
Yeah,
Miss.
but you don't. No, it's okay. I got the location. It's going to be the DoubleTree Hotel by Hilton at the Airport and Convention Center. This is going to be right at the airport.
Wow.
Get in and get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, get
And everybody
in,
knows where that's at.
exactly. Get in and get out. But you know what? You've got so many people that fly in. Okay, so
Right.
people are flying in from other countries. There's so many hotels around there. Magic City Casino is around there, so the Fountain Blue isn't too far. So this is a great location to do something like that, and especially for National Women's Month.
I would love to be there.
Sweet. Just keep us updated. I'm sure you will. And Miss Angela, give out all your contact information. Our time is running up so short.
Right. How can we assist and how can we attend?
Well,
Yes.
let's see. Our contact information, of course, every Wednesday night you can get us on Peace on the Streets at this time, and then on Instagram, MS International World. Same thing on Facebook, or they can visit my personal page at Angela Basilico on Facebook as well, too. So, and Prince, let's face it, next year you'll probably find us at the White House so you can get us there, too.
Yes.
Come on,
Thank
Air
you,
Force
Mrs.
One.
Angela. Yes. Air Force One is coming to the White
She's
House.
saying it. We claim it.
We claim it.
Come on.
We name it and claim it, baby.
Guys, don't forget to tune in every Wednesday for the updates of Miss International World and Miss Latina International. Miss,
Angela.
we have special guests in the building.
Yes, we do. We got some stars in the building. Football players and Amityville horror. It's loaded in there today. How y'all doing today?
Put the website on, Prince, so people can watch us. So we got
okay,
Mr. Bruce in the building, and he has an amazing guest. So please introduce your guest and introduce yourself because
Mr.
you
Bruce.
got history as well.
Well, my name is Bruce Rothschild. I'm a ex-professional football player, an actor and stuntman,
Come
and
on.
just just this handsome guy.
Yes, sir.
And a few years ago, I got to meet her dad, Roger Perrin, and he told me about the incredible story of his family in Rhode Island that they made the movie The Conjuring about. And I was lucky enough to meet Annie not too far after that and just loved reading her books, House of Darkness, House of Light. And it is absolutely really changed my perception about life and death and how she has been able to put her story of this 10-year journey on paper. And it is like you're there.
Okay.
And that's the thing that I just love about how she writes. It's not like this ethereal, well, you can tell, boy, that's made up.
Right.
You're living that while you're reading these books. Yeah, I'd like to give it up for Andrea Perrin.
All
who's
right, then.
right next to me.
The one and only.
And thank you for bringing her here. We appreciate you,
Yes,
Miss
we
Perry.
do. Thanks,
Oh,
Miss
my
Perry,
pleasure.
for taking time out of your busy schedule and being a part of Peace on the Street. We
Absolutely.
appreciate you.
And because of you that we have her as a special guest. And who knew she lives right here in Orlando, Florida.
Wow.
Come on.
It's a lot of amazing people here.
They're sleeping on us, Prince.
Yeah. All right, Miss Perry.
Yes.
Oh,
So
please just call me Andrea or
Andrea.
Annie. All my friends call me Annie.
Annie, all
Yeah.
right then. Well, we friends, Annie.
hey. So I have to say, Annie, if I may, I grew up listening to the story, and it's actually a true story. If you guys come from up north, at least, definitely New York, Long Island is where I'm from, that I knew about Amityville Horror House. I lived about 30 minutes from Amityville. By the way, big shout out to Long Island because they're watching us right now. My mom and dad, I love you.
Yeah, yeah.
My brother and sister.
All right now.
And they want to come through and get your autograph, by the way. And I have a
Absolutely.
book. I have to get you to sign my book. Not that I wrote, but I'm in it, but I appreciate that. And I like the fact that the story, it told like a lot of the truth of a man that actually, he's like 17 at the time, maybe he was a teenager. I think he was, and he murdered his family.
Okay.
And he murdered all five of them, not mistaken, children to the parents. I know it's horrific, but it happened. And this is in the 70s. And if you guys haven't watched Amityville, they had, if I'm saying this right, it would be called psychics, right? Is that what the term is? Am I using the term correctly? When psychics came and they understood what the energy was, what was going on in the house, and they were releasing the facts of what they've seen, what they've heard, and what it is. Because the
Okay.
family called for help.
Right.
Of course, you can't call the police because they really don't understand these things.
Ghosts.
You could call a priest, a pastor. I don't think they delivered. I think they've called them in the past too. So I'm going to give it to her,
Yeah.
give the floor to her, because she was a part of that journey and she was a part of that mission.
Yes.
And that's how this movie and that information got released.
Okay.
So please tell us a little bit of that backstory, how it started, how you got involved.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
Well, you know, the one of the few things that's in The Conjuring that's actually accurate is at the very end of the film when Lorraine Warren goes and answers the phone and mentions that there's a house in Long Island that they need to go investigate.
Okay.
Our investigation had already come to pass. It didn't resemble anything like the what The Conjuring is. They came to our house in we lived in Harrisville, Rhode Island, which is in the northwest corner of the little state of Rhode Island.
Wow.
And when they came in October of 1973, they came 5 times. The last time that they came to the house was in August of 1974. And they insisted that a seance need to happen in the house. In the film, it makes it look like Ed Warren actually initiated my God, what's the word?
I wish I knew the terms. Yeah.
We know
oh
it's
my
late.
God, yes, there was no possession. There was no exorcism. That's
Okay.
the word that I'm looking for. I keep it out of my mind because I think of it as just such a negative
connotation
Right.
to
Sure.
what actually happened. But what did happen was that there was a seance that occurred that the Warrens insisted needed to happen. And my father didn't want any part of it. The movie made it look like my father was all touchy-feely. Oh, come on in the house. Oh, thank you for coming to help us. Nothing could have been further than from the truth. My father wanted absolutely nothing to do with the Warrens, and he was so afraid that they would export our story and draw unnecessary attention to our family, which is exactly what happened, even though there was an agreement. There was no signed paperwork, but there was an agreement between my mother and the Warrens that they would not disclose anything that they learned at our farmhouse. Now, the house that I grew up in, the land was deeded for it in 1680.
Whoa.
And the house as it stands now was completed in 1736.
Wow.
So we grew up, we moved in, and believe me when I tell you, there were no ghosts on the radar when we moved in. My parents wanted that house because it was one of the last original colonial homes in America.
Wow.
And my mother, being a student of history, thought that it was a fabulous way to, we had 200 acres of land. It was a fabulous way to raise your children if you're coming out of the suburbs of Providence, which is a city. It's a little city, but it's a city. And we were living in Cumberland, Rhode Island, when my mother discovered the farm in June of 1970. And my parents bought it in December of 1970, and then we moved in right after the holidays in 1971, even though we were already the owners. The former owner was not ready to leave yet. And he gave some indication that there was something going on in the house, but my father did not even know how to interpret what he said to him, which was on the day that we moved in, Mr. Kenyon said to my dad, Roger, for the sake of your family, leave the lights on at night in the house.
Wow.
And the way my father interpreted that was, okay, I have 5 little girls. They're all sleeping on the second floor of the house. There's 2 very dangerous stairwells that come down to the first floor where the bathroom is. And if I don't want my kids laying in piles at the bottom of the stairs, it would be best to keep the house lit at night, at least a modicum of light, so that they can navigate it. And that's how what Mr. Kenyon said to him made sense to my dad. It wasn't until months later that we started to get to know people that lived in the area, where we determined that no one who had lived there for generations had ever seen that house dark at night. And if you drove past it at any given time of night or early morning hours, it would be lit up like a Christmas tree. Every light in the house would be on.
Whoa.
Wow.
And we could only intuit that was the way they kept the activity at bay, he and his wife, who lived there for about 60 years.
Wow.
Before we arrived. And in fact, Mr. Kenyon's wife was related to, through the original family, the Richardson family that came over to the Massachusetts Bay Colony from Great Britain, built the house in the early 1700s. And then through marriage, it became the Arnold estate. So it is now known as the Richardson Arnold Homestead. Although everybody refers to it as the Conjuring House, I will never call it that. Because to me, the Conjuring House is the place that they filmed the movie at in North Carolina.
Interesting.
It wasn't even a house.
It wasn't. No.
Hollywood, boy.
It's a house. I was there for the filming, some of the filming of the movie, but it is a house, but it's basically just used as a set. It's not an inhabited house.
Do they ask you how to go about it? How can they implement the movie? Did they ask for your ideas or out of respect?
Oh, yeah. Sure. They asked tons and tons and tons of questions. And I spent many hours on the phone with producers and director James Wan and, the whole crew. And they didn't really take any of my suggestions. And they had their own idea. You have to understand one thing, which Bruce knows well, which is Hollywood has a template and a format all their own. And what they will do is they will take a perfectly phenomenal story and then twist it and turn it into what they think will sell.
Correct.
And so they, I had written the books House of Darkness, House of Light, which James Wan read. Everybody associated with The Conjuring read my books.
I'm happy to hear that.
And they said, oh, hell no, we can't tell this story. Nobody will stay to watch the movie.
Okay.
Why? Is it more horrific than the movie itself?
It's much more intense.
Gotta read the book.
Is it?
It's much more deeply spiritual. It is much more. It's multidimensional. And to me, when I see The Conjuring, I'm like, it might as well be grainy black and white.
Oh, man.
It has no bearing on any of the actual things that happen.
Oh.
It's maybe 5% accurate.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow.
And the rest of it was conjured in the minds of two screenwriters who were trying to please the bosses at New Line Cinema and at Warner Brothers, the mother company. And when I tell you that you can wear a 3-piece suit to work, but you can still be a fear-based carbon unit. And that's what they were. They were absolutely terrified when they learned the real story behind what they had only been exposed to in the case files of Ed and Lorraine Warren, which they had purchased several years before. And of all of the case files, they wanted to launch this series of films with our story because they felt that it was, as Ed Warren said on his deathbed, the most intense, most compelling, most disturbing, and most significant of all of the paranormal investigations that he and Lorraine ever conducted over more than 40 years as pioneers of paranormal investigation.
Wow.
We got to get a song in, and we'll be coming back with Hayes. I mean, she lived in the house with the Amityville horror, right?
House,
you grew, and you gonna tell us some? Can you tell us some true details or some scary moments?
We're not scared.
Yeah, we're not scared.
I'm a little disappointed in Hollywood though, but we all know it.
Yeah, they do it all the time.
We all know, but I don't like. I know we gotta go to a song. I'm just surprised that they hear someone's story and they can still do as they wish.
Yes.
Don't they have to ask for rights or permission or?
Not really.
Then why are they even speaking to her?
Well, what happens is that they'll take say a story, that's a good story, and then they'll switch it and flip it like they want to because they feel like this story, the people ain't gonna sit and watch it or whatever.
If hers is more horrific than the story itself, what?
People, like she said, in suits, they don't know what the hell they doing. In other words,
that's why we gotta stay independent.
Let's
go.
Keep it locked right here, the Peace on the Street with our girl Annie.
Ow! So if you guys don't know The Conjuring, which is most of you know, even Kiana knows, so we got 19 and up knowing about this, but we're going back in the day from the Amityville, from what I know the story, Amityville Horror House. So these stories that come from Lorraine, as we say, and she passed away last year, didn't she?
Yes.
At the age of 90?
I think 93.
93. And these are the guys that, if you watch Amityville, that's them. Lorraine and
Ed, her husband.
Yes, and that story, it started from there for us understanding that there could be paranormal activities that exist. So The Conjuring came out.
Yeah.
And it's based on them.
When did The Conjuring come out?
Conjuring.
Conjuring.
2013.
Okay.
2013.
Okay, and that's based on the Amityville Horror House.
No,
it's not.
It's based on the house I grew up in, which is an old farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island.
Okay. When did you all first start seeing weird things? Was it weird to you all, or I want to get into the juicy of it.
Yes.
I mean, when did you all first say, hold on?
And this was too scary for movies, guys. It was too scary
too
to put.
scary for
It was
movies?
too scary to actually put it in Conjuring because they didn't do it. They didn't do it. So
Wow.
let's hear this backstory.
Yeah.
Well,
Can't
James
imagine.
Wan was very anxious to make sure he got a PG-13 rating for the film.
Interesting.
And when the MPAA came down with their rating for the film and they gave it an R, and his head blew off his shoulders.
Really?
I mean, he was so upset, and he told his assistant to call them back immediately and demand a reason why, because there was no gratuitous violence. There was, it wasn't overtly sexual in any way. There was no bad language. He's like, these are all the things that we're told we have to avoid in order to get a PG or a PG-13. And their answer was, it's just too scary. And, I just laughed. I thought, oh, my God, you folks don't even know scary. You don't. I mean, you passed up an opportunity. Huh. And, I give people credit for intelligence, and Hollywood does not.
Come on.
And I was so grateful, years ago, a number of years ago, when I was introduced to Bruce through my father and suddenly learned what his background was, because I knew that this was someone who not only I would love, and I adore his whole family. I mean, we're very close. But, as a producer, he would guide me and make sure that whatever I did with this story, above and beyond The Conjuring, would fall into capable hands, but also people of character. That it wouldn't be twisted and turned into something that it wasn't ever again.
Okay.
So that's what we're working on now. But to answer your question specifically, the first incident that occurred was on the day that we moved in, within 5 minutes
Whoa.
of moving into the house. Now, keep in mind, we had visited that house a number of times before we actually moved there, because my mom found it in June of 1970 and went and looked at it the next day after she saw the ad in the paper and emptied our family bank account to secure it with earnest money until my father got back from a business trip that he was on. And it was probably, our family went at least 7 or 8 times and had gotten really close with Mr. Kenyon, the owner, and he wanted our family desperately to have the house. He always told my parents this was a wonderful way to raise your children out in the country, having a place in the country. And we never had any activity while we were there. I asked every member of my family before, as I was writing the books, do you remember seeing anything, feeling anything, weird or untoward while we were visiting the farm prior to moving in? And every single member of my family said, nope, nothing.
Wow.
And then the day we moved in, I walked in, it was a swirling snow and ice storm going on, but if it's moving day and you're a Yankee,
Right.
Come on.
you load the truck and you move your stuff.
Right.
And
Get it together.
Yep, just get it together.
Even in
And,
a snowstorm.
Even in a snowstorm. And so my father opened the back of the moving van and he handed me a box marked kitchen. My mother had already taken my baby sister April around into the kitchen so that she could start receiving the boxes. That's when she discovered that Mr. Kenyon was not ready to move out yet. And so she had to empty the boxes and then pack his things into the empty boxes with the newspaper because he was not ready. And we were moving in and he was trying to move out simultaneously.
Wow.
So she and my baby sister, who was only 5 at the time, were in the kitchen. And the rest of us were older and bigger and could help unload the van.
Right.
And I walked into the parlor door and took a hard right into the dining room and said good morning to Mr. Kenyon. I had a big box marked kitchen. I laid it on the table, and when I chatted with him for a moment and then picked it back up, I turned around to walk through the front foyer into the kitchen, and there was a man standing there who was very oddly dressed, I thought. And I said, good morning, sir, as I passed him, because he appeared as flesh and blood to me.
Right.
I mean, just like any of you. And I walked in the kitchen and I said, Mom, who's that man with Mr. Kenyon? And she said, oh, there's nobody with Mr. Kenyon. His son's on the way. He's not here yet. I went out the kitchen door and went back around to get another box. And meanwhile, my sister Christine came in. She saw him, asked my mother about who he was. Mom said, I don't know. I mean, she was busy.
Right.
And then my sister Cindy came in. She saw him, came in the kitchen and said, Mom, who's that man with Mr. Kenyon? He's dressed funny. And my mother just, she didn't have time to go.
She blowed it
look.
off. She wasn't really, she was
And we're
busy.
little kids. And I'm sure everybody figured a neighbor stopped by to say goodbye or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it didn't occur to anybody until my sister Nancy walked into the kitchen and leaned over to my sister Cindy and said, Sin, did you see that man with Mr. Kenyon? I did, but he just disappeared.
Oh, my goodness.
She saw him
Right in
disappear.
front of her eyes. And
Wow.
about 2 or 3 hours later, I'm the eldest in the family, and then Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and then April was the baby. So the four of us, with April still in the kitchen with Mom, were in the dining room. Mr. Kenyon was loading up the last of his belongings, his wife's china, out of the built-in cabinet in the room, and the man appeared again in front of us, and my father and Mr. Kenyon were both standing within 2 or 3 feet of him, and it was obvious that they didn't see him, and we did. And because of that, we knew not to say anything. And we knew we were living in a place that was entirely different from the house we had just come from.
God.
So the adults couldn't see it?
No.
Just
Interesting.
couldn't see him.
Now, what was he dressed like?
Yeah.
If you want to describe
He
that.
was dressed in what looked like kind of a light yellow mustard linen shirt that looked like it was hand-stitched, and trousers that looked hand-stitched, and had a pair of leather boots on that looked very worn, like really worn. And he had a haggard face, like he looked like he had been in the sun too many years.
Okay.
That it had aged him. And we didn't know who he was. And my mother did some research on the farm, quite a bit of research. In fact, Mrs. Warren took her research and never returned it to her. And it ended up being sold as part of the case files, which made the movie The Conjuring, all like four decades later.
Wow.
But the thing that's so fascinating about this is that I have 2 friends who are spiritualists who have developed a method of speaking directly to spirit. And frankly, I never thought that I would live long enough to see this happen. And they were at the farmhouse a few months ago. I wasn't there for this particular session, but they were there a few months ago. And their names are Cody Despian and Satori Hawes, Jason Hawes' daughter. They were the ones that did the first Ghost Hunters series back in the early 2000s.
Right. I remember that, the Ghost Hunters.
Yeah, Jason's daughter, Satori. And she and her boyfriend can touch each other and just literally just clasp arms. And then spirit will start coming through and communicating with them. And they do it with like knocking sounds, but you cannot discern where the sound is coming from. It's not the ceilings, the walls, the floors. And they have developed this over the last few years. Just before COVID hit is when they discovered this ability. And, my sister named the spirit Manny. because he was a man. She was 8 years old, and she wanted to have a name for him because he kept appearing over and over again. He was like a peripheral member of the family.
It's like a whole time you live here,
yeah,
he's showing
the
himself?
whole time, yeah. And he
Did
was
he ever
very
speak to you guys?
gentle.
Okay.
No, he had a kind of a quirky grin, and he had a sweet face. And he was no threat at all. He seemed to kind of watch over us.
Okay.
And so Nancy called him Manny, and all through my books I refer to him as Manny. So anyway, getting back to Cody and Satori, they're doing one of their sessions at the farm a few months ago, and they start getting this frantic knocking, and they're being told that they have a message. One of the spirits wants to come through. And he comes through and he says, "My name is Joseph." And everybody in the house starts looking at each other like, who's Joseph? We don't remember Andrea writing about a Joseph in the family or in the books about the Arnold family.
Right.
And so as they're discussing this amongst the people who are at this session, he comes through again and he spells out, "Nancy called me Manny."
Wow.
We thought it was Johnny Arnold for 50 years. We thought it was Johnny Arnold that had died in the house.
Okay.
And
his name was
we
Joseph.
were wrong.
Wow.
We were wrong. And he self-identified.
Did you look him up, Joseph?
Yeah.
What is his background?
Well, he was part of the family. And, we don't know. We have to do some more sessions there and find out, go a little deeper and find out what the history is. But isn't it fascinating that all these years, we bought the house in 1970. It's
Right.
2022.
Wow.
And we're still learning
40-something
things
years
about
ago, right
that
at 50
house.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
this is probably so much. It's a historical house, though. It comes from like the colonial years. Who knows? What has been there?
Yeah.
Graveyards. Who? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a couple of 2 or 3 nights after we moved in, my sister Cindy came to my room, and all 3 of the children's bedrooms were on the top floor. I was the only one that had my own room, and Christine and Cindy shared the middle bedroom. Nancy and April shared the far bedroom over the kitchen. And Cindy came crawling into bed with me. She's like, "Can I sleep with you? I heard voices. I'm scared." And I said, "Well, what did you hear?" And she said, "I hear voices all around my bed, and they're all speaking together. They're all saying the same thing at the same time." And, Cindy was just a little itty bitty. She was like, 8 years old. And I let her in bed with me, of course. And I said, "Okay, what did you hear?" And she said, "I heard the same thing over and over and over again. There are 7 dead soldiers buried in the wall. There are 7 dead soldiers buried in the wall." Last year, some scientific team with ground-penetrating radar came to the farmhouse doing an investigation, and they found 7 anomalies buried at the bottom of the stone wall
Oh, my
on
God.
the backyard of the property.
They were murdered, probably.
Wow.
They were soldiers.
They were soldiers.
They were soldiers. When you think about it, that house, the property was deeded in 1680. The house was completed as it stands now in 1736,
Man.
which was 40 years
Can't believe it.
before the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So that farmhouse survived the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the King Philip's War, the Dorr Rebellion, and numerous other border skirmishes that happened between the colonies because Connecticut was encroaching on the little colony of Rhode Island from the west, and the Massachusetts Bay Colony was encroaching from the north and the east. And so that piece of property was originally a couple of thousand acres, and it was deeded specifically to form a boundary between Connecticut and Massachusetts so that Roger Williams, who was the founder of the colony of Rhode Island, could establish, proper borders.
Wow.
So, that's, there's a lot of, we'll never know the whole history of the farmhouse. But for me, the spirits, the existence of the spirits, and I know Bruce feels the same way, and if you'd like him to speak to this, I think that would be, he's really evolved, having really delved deeply into this story. in terms of his own understanding of life and death and the afterlife.
Yes.
Which is why he's so deeply engrossed in this project. And I can speak to that in a minute. But the thing for me personally is not who the spirits were in life. That they still are in afterlife is a miracle to me.
Right.
Imagine living your whole life long being surrounded by the spirits of your loved ones, your ancestors, people that you've adored and you've lost, and never ever being able to contact them or never feeling that they're a presence around you. And for me, having contact with the spirits at that farmhouse, of which there were many, at least a dozen, that we interacted with over the decade we lived there.
Was any of them ever evil or
Yes.
mean? Really?
Yeah, we had one woman who, I guess, probably perceived herself as the mistress of the house going back into the 1700s, and she tormented my mother. She loved my father, and she coveted us, the 5 children, and would appear to us, but she hated my mother and threatened her and actually physically harmed her on more than one occasion.
Really?
What made you guys leave the home?
My mother told my father she would not survive another winter in the farmhouse and that they had to sell it. And that was in 1980.
Okay.
And I was devastated, absolutely devastated, because I had made peace with the spirits and I loved them. I still do.
Okay.
Even the cranky ones, you know. I mean, I really think that how we are in life is how we are in afterlife.
Right.
You know, that
Yeah.
our character doesn't necessarily change.
Right.
But these
Wow.
people lived long, you know, sometimes long, miserable, difficult lives.
Right.
And who could blame them for being cranky?
Yeah.
And
So they don't find their sense of peace even after they die.
well, I don't know why they didn't move on, but my having researched this and having lived it for so many years, I think that, and Bruce and I have talked about this, I think that either they died so quickly or so tragically that they don't even know they're dead,
Okay.
or that they died by their own hand. And I mean, if you think suicide is taboo now, go back 200-300 years.
Interesting.
Right.
It was, you don't know if you're going to the light, if you're going to eternal salvation,
Uh-huh.
or to hell and damnation and fire and brimstone.
Right.
And so maybe the safer thing is to stay an earthbound spirit.
Mm.
But that they revealed themselves to us, to me, is miraculous.
Okay.
Because this isn't even a matter, and I am a woman of deep faith. I don't espouse any particular religion, but I even was called to the ministry.
Wow.
You know, I became an ordained minister.
Congratulations.
You
Yeah.
know, and because I felt such a profound connection with them, and you know, when COVID hit and I was doing an awful lot of grief counseling, I finally said, well, now I understand why I felt like I needed to become a minister and to, help people through this. But, Bruce and I have talked about this, and I really think that these spirits stay behind with purpose and reason. And I don't ever try to cross any of them.
Okay.
Because they're here to teach us something
Uh-huh.
that is, beyond profound. And it's not a matter of belief or faith for
Right.
me. I know,
You know.
that spirit exists.
Gotcha.
And so it is incumbent upon me to share that information with as many people as are willing to listen. And I'm not here to fracture anybody's belief system, but, speak to this, Bruce, because I know it really changed you reading the books.
Can we get a song in and then
Yeah.
we're going to
Sure.
come back?
So we have Kiana in the building also. I have to say, she has questions. She's been waiting to ask you questions. Go ahead, Kiana.
Okay, so the first question I kind of already asked off camera, but I kind of asked her, like, why does she think that the spirits or whatever was there in that house showed itself to the little kids first before the adults?
Well, I think that, we didn't know it, but the house did have a reputation and a history to it from, prior people that had experienced things there, but nobody bothered to tell us that when my parents bought the house. But I think that the reason why children can see spirit much more readily than adults do is because on some level I think we're all born knowing that we're immortal and that spirit exists. And I've often said to be touched by spirit is not a curse but a blessing. It's that rare and precious glimpse into the realm from which we all come and will inevitably return. And so I kind of preach, be not afraid. Don't, communicate, open yourself up to it. Now my parents couldn't avoid what happened. Eventually my father was, Bruce, why don't you tell the story of what happened to my father that completely altered his
Give us some, Bruce.
Yeah.
He tells it better than I do. It's kind of fun. It's funny. My poor father.
Oh boy.
Well, it seemed like one of the spirits there really liked her father, Roger.
It's the mistress of the house.
Female.
Yeah, she had the hots for him. Let's just call it what it was.
Man, she's messing everything up. She's breaking up families.
She would rub on his back.
That's what she did when she was there. Yep.
Just to let him
She was
know
alive.
she's there. And then one time, he had gotten a little mad at her and yelled at her. Doors slammed, and she was not happy with him for a while.
About 6 months.
Yeah.
Have they actually seen them? Oh, it just felt
Did they
their
ever see
presence, or
We have
felt.
photographs.
Huh?
I should pull up the photograph where, oh my God.
I would
Really? I would love to
I'm not
see
gonna say
it.
I don't want to say I don't believe it or understand it. I'm open minded. Like, oh, I would love to see this, but I don't. Maybe it's not God's plan to show me because
I'ma
maybe I
ask you a
can't take it.
question.
Like, I don't know.
When that happened, did it ever take you? Like I had an experience. I used to work right. My grandmama's house was right next door to the church, and so I would go there on Mondays or some after church and clean up and stuff like that. So one day I was going in one Monday morning. I was going in, and as I closed the door, some grabbed my hand. And they grabbed my hand, and it freaked me. Wasn't nobody there. It was a spirit. In the spirit
there was
world,
somebody there.
Since we've been on air, the light's been flickering. You see that light's flickering again?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and guess what?
Oh, now I got goosebumps. It's flickering over and over.
And guess
Guys,
what?
we gotta make a movie.
But it took me a while. I don't know if this happened to you, but it took me a while to be able to tell it because I would start crying.
Really?
I would run up.
I understand.
I could not tell the.
How old were you at that time, may I ask?
I maybe was like 7 or 8.
Children.
Yeah, and it grabbed my hand
they see these
and pulled me in, and I snatched away from it, ran out to church. And I told, and as I'm trying to, and it took me a while to be able to tell somebody this, because I would always start crying. They would like, and it wasn't like nothing of fear or nothing, but I couldn't hardly tell the story.
So why are children? Why can most of them actually see and feel these things? My mom always says because they're innocent.
They're innocent.
Yeah,
That's what I heard.
and they're not so afraid as adults would just lose it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's God's plan. Like we're not supposed to see these things.
But
why children all the time? It's because they're pure, right?
Because the spirit world is true. It's if God was to reveal what's happening around us, we're in a totally different world inside of a world.
So we would lose our, like they're basically standing around us right now.
Yes.
We would just lose our mind. So our family members can follow us and everything and be with us and we'll never know. Like I would really like to see my grandma, but maybe he just won't allow me to because I think I might.
Well, my
take
sister said it. She begged for mom, and
I gotta see a picture.
she's seen her.
You can
Really?
enlarge that. You can see right through me. I'm touching an entity in the house.
Yeah.
And I go into its dimension and I start to disappear. This was on a recent episode. I don't know if you guys know who the Ghost Brothers are.
Yes.
But they're 3 African-American, awesome
If you guys can see.
young men. Well, they're young to me. And, they really kind of broke into this field out of just sheer curiosity. So you can see them there. They're sitting around the table. I was doing a shoot with them at the farm, and I told them, I said, I sense that there's a presence at the head of the table, And when I reached out, and you can use that photograph. I mean, I have
Yeah.
permission to yeah.
Yeah. Can you share this with us?
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
And I just reached out and I touched whatever I felt at the end of the table there, and all of a sudden, I went into this other dimensional mode where you can see all three of the guys, but you can see right through me. Like right through me, and the woodwork and the hardware in the house, like literally right through my arm. And this aired about maybe, I guess, 4 or 5 weeks ago. I think.
Wow, guys!
And it just set the whole paranormal world on its ear. They were just like, "This is impossible. This must be CGI." Well, I can guarantee you that the Ghost Brothers do not finagle with anything, or their producers that they do.
I'm really happy to hear
and
this.
That was a screenshot from a television show.
So they keep it real. They
absolutely,
they really do.
Absolutely.
I'm happy
and
to hear
their
this.
approach too is very, very spiritual. It's not about scares and
or Satanism, like what people think is like the whole Santa Monia.
It's
That's what they call it.
evil.
And in the Latin world is brujeria. It's witchcraft is what they call it.
Yeah. No, that's not what they're just very curious and intellectually precocious young men that seek answers, because they've all had spiritual
That's what I was gonna ask.
experiences themselves as younger men or children, and they seek out information that they then impart into the world. And so basically we do the same thing. They just do it from a slightly different perspective.
Interesting. Why do you think some adults can see it and some can't?
I think the common denominator, and you can speak to this too, I think the common denominator is fear.
Okay.
I think that people are afraid of the unknown, and paraphrasing Madame Curie, now is the time for us to understand more so that we may fear less.
And maybe Hollywood played a big part of this too, with the spirit world, because
they
in
do a lot of
Hollywood-
Satanism stuff in Hollywood, though.
Yeah, they do.
And that's why we're afraid.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to go there. But Hollywood twists everything up, and I think their message is that for us, they're trying to make us be that route. And that's why a lot of us go against them. I'm just saying that subliminal messages in Hollywood and how they release it is not really what the actual facts are, is what they want you to see and believe. We already know this. So to actually get the facts right now to be released is it's discouraging. It gets me a little angry. How can they take someone's story and not use them and move on and twist the story? And that's exactly what happened here. So she's written books, and are you in the process right now of actually developing your true story, your true facts of what the book says?
And that's why I wanted Bruce to be here with me, because he has helped me every step of the way.
Wow.
He has found me, really a great producer, a great showrunner, because he knows all the good guys.
I know.
Go ahead, Bruce.
It's birds
Big
of a
body
feather.
Bruce.
Flock together.
They do. They flock together, and he's a man of great character and a pretty awesome sense of humor.
He is.
Which I kind of need.
He's a good guy.
Because I can get a little too serious, so he chills me out.
That's good.
But he's also introduced me to people who have been a great guide. And of course, COVID threw us back a couple of years in the process. And there's always 1,000 things to do before you ever pick up a camera. But I will tell you that we are in the process of putting together an entire production team so that we can tell the whole true story.
Nice.
Because people deserve to know the truth of what happened to our family, and the good, the bad, the ugly, the spiritual, the uplifting, and the horrifying things. I mean, it took us, we lived in that house for 10 years.
Wow.
And The Conjuring made it look like we lived there for like 3 minutes. And the Warrens moved in and made everything all better and happily ever after. But I will tell you one thing that's very important for people to know. The Conjuring is correct in 3 ways. It leaves you with very distinct impressions.
Okay.
One of which is good conquers evil, love conquers fear. and the Perrin family endured an extreme haunting that they all survived. And all of that is true. And in the grand overarching story, that is the impression that should have been left. And I also, I don't want to sit here and talk them down, because James Wan worked diligently. Everybody that was associated with that film worked diligently.
For sure. It was a hit movie.
To tell the best story that they could from the perspective that they were allowed to tell it.
Gotcha, right.
And,
right.
He met our whole family, and
Nice.
we knew all the people, all the actors,
Wow.
everybody. We met all of them.
Okay.
And they were all determined to, they were very well aware that they were telling the story of 7 living people that had gone through this.
So you had an actor playing you.
Yes, her
So
name is Shanley Caswell. She's absolutely delightful.
So would you sit down and talk to her about your side of the
Yes.
story?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how that worked? And everyone that played whoever, they talked to that person and told.
Yeah.
Were you ever afraid in the house?
I was afraid, not for myself.
Okay.
I was afraid for what was happening to other members of my family, especially my mother and my sister Cindy.
Why Cindy?
My sister Cindy was born with a birth defect that required major surgery when she was 2 months old,
Wow.
and she died.
I'm sorry to hear
And
this.
they brought her back
What?
on the table, but she had crossed. She had already crossed. And my mother had had a near-death experience earlier in her life, well before she'd had any children.
Mm-hmm.
And she had crossed and come back. And so I think this...
Wow.
For our veterans who are interned at the 3 African American cemeteries that we take care of. We're going to have ceremonies with the mayor and the vice mayor. We're going to be playing taps. We're going to have Jordan Chandler, who's an advocate out in Brevard County. We're going to have the American Legion Post 191 and 163. We're going to have the Knights of Columbus. We're going to have the Color Guard out there. We're going to have some amazing volunteers who are going to be placing the wreaths. We're going to be reading all 187 names of the veterans that are interred there at the 3 cemeteries.
Nice.
So we're going to be doing something wonderful. This will be the 3rd year in a row with Wreaths Across America.
Wow. And were you a veteran, by the way? I'm just asking.
No, I'm
Why
not.
is your heart
My
there?
dad is.
Come up. Thank you for the services.
Thank you for the service. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
My dad, my
That's what it
father-in-law, and my daughter is a West Point graduate.
Wow.
And a captain in the
She's
Army.
serious.
Sweet.
She is a beast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she's a
What?
beast.
One of like the elite schools ever in the United
Nice.
States. So big deal. Thank you for all that you do for us and for everybody else. And thank you for the amazing people in our lives.
Yeah.
More to come. I hope you do come back. And listen, if you never eat an assistant, I will be right next to you with no fear. In fact, I can't wait.
You
So-
could be the assistant. He's going to be my bodyguard.
Yes!
Mr. Bruce.
I agree.
As a real man behind that
Let me
glass.
tell you something. When Prince looks at them, nobody talks to Mimi. So he's amazing. Thank you so much. You give your information. Please give out your information. How can we find your books?
Yes.
And all the resources you may have that you want supported.
All my books are on Amazon. You can order them anywhere in the world. My website's being rebuilt and dragged into the 21st century.
Come on.
Nice.
But you can find me on Facebook, and my fan page is called Buttercup Brigade. We're the good deed doers who wear rose-colored glasses. It's the only way to look at the world. But also I have a main page as well, Andrea Perrin on Facebook. It's easy to find me. Just Google my name. Honest to God, I've got like
I already
hundreds of
know.
pages on Google.
It's like this media is
So
nothing to
easy
her.
find me.
Yeah.
And now because you know us, you'll have my phone number in your phone. So how is that for easy to
Come
find me?
on.
Yes.
By the way, before you
indeed.
leave, I want your autograph. I want
Yes.
your autograph in my book because
My
I think you're
pleasure.
doing amazing things, and I think you're such a strong person. So thank you for releasing this, not being afraid to, and reaching out to us, and releasing the facts because
Yes.
she's going to actually have what was written in her book be put into visual.
Awesome.
I can't
Yeah.
wait
The
to
truth
see this.
will set you free, and the truth is stranger than fiction. It is.
That's good. So when you get ready to release all that, this is your home now.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
This is
Yes,
your
sir.
home.
That's
You're
right.
welcome whenever you get ready.
Yes.
When all that is developing, let us know. We'd love to be a part of
And we
it.
don't
wonderful.
change facts. We keep it real
That's
here.
it.
We
Keep it
have
real.
control of media. Media
Yep.
does not control
Yep.
us.
That's
So big shout to Keon in the building. Our intern.
Yes.
Derek, how'd you feel about being on Peace on the Streets? Okay, come over here, Derek. First time ever. How'd you feel?
I feel great.
Thank you so much, Derica and Yo, for being with us, Peace on the Streets, and also Ben. Guys, the saddest thing is wasted talent. Don't waste the gift that God has given you. Go full force and never let fear or intimidation stop you. Buenas noches, Orlando!
Yeah. Voting needs to you too, me. Thank you, Orlando, for listening to us.
Woo!
WOKB and the family, thank you for allowing us to be here.
Come on.
You guys have a blessed day. This has been an awesome night. Peace on the streets, you guys.
Ow!
We'll see you guys next week.